I wrote the rule at 2:13 a.m. last spring, hours after the basketball game ended, with my hands still shaking and the taste of chocolate milk still sour in my memory. No dating until college. That night, I had stood behind the field house with a carton of Mandy's favorite chocolate milk in my hand, waiting to walk her home after the game. Then I saw her, under the buzzing security light, with her hands in another guy's jacket and his mouth on hers. Not a misunderstanding. Not a friendly hug. A kiss. And I just stood there, 16 and stupidly in love, holding the drink she always forgot to buy herself. So yeah, no dating, no flirting, no crushes, no letting someone borrow my hoodie and pretending it didn't matter when it came back smelling like them. No getting attached to good morning texts. No trusting someone just because they smiled like they meant it. Romance, apparently, was a terrible idea with good marketing. Now I was 17, older by 1 year and emotionally at least 40, and I had a plan. Survive high school, get into college, become mysterious, maybe own a black coat, fall in love when my brain was fully cooked or at least less embarrassing. Until then, nothing. Your face looks like a math test got haunted. I looked up from my locker. Lucas leaned against the one beside mine, backpack hanging off one shoulder, varsity warm-up jacket unzipped, hair still damp like he had either showered after morning practice or fought a sprinkler and won. Knowing Lucas, both were possible. I shut my locker too hard. That's just my face. Lucas's mouth tilted. Tragic. Is there a cure? Yeah. You leaving. Lucas pressed a hand to his chest, wounded but deeply fake. After all we've been through? The shared childhood trauma? The time you cried because your goldfish looked lonely? I was 6. You held a funeral in a shoebox. It was respectful. It was aquatic theater. I tried not to smile. Failed immediately. Annoying. Lucas had that effect on me, like his face had a personal vendetta against my bad mood. We started down the hallway together because we always did. Lucas walked on the outside, closer to the crowd, like he'd been assigned the position. Years ago and never questioned it. I noticed things like that now. I hated that I noticed things like that. People moved around Lucas without thinking. Not because Lucas was huge. He wasn't. Strong, yes. Athletic, definitely. But not some movie linebacker. It was the way he carried himself. Chin up, shoulders loose, eyes sharp enough to cut through cafeteria gossip. Lucas was gay. Everyone knew. Lucas also acted like he did not care. Or at least, he was very good at making people believe that. And if anyone forgot the difference between knowing and having permission to be an idiot about it, I had a very clear memory from sophomore year. Swim unit. Locker room. Wet tile. The smell of chlorine and cheap body spray. Some guy from our class had picked up a paperback that fell out of Lucas's bag and started laughing too loudly. I still remembered the silence after. Lucas hadn't screamed, hadn't cried, hadn't looked scared. He'd crossed the room, caught the guy by the front of his hoodie, and backed him against the lockers hard enough to make the metal rattle. I could still hear Lucas's voice, calm as a warning label. You found the word gay. Congratulations. Now find the word sorry. The apology came fast. After that, people learned. Bullies didn't disappear from school. They just developed survival instincts around Lucas. But that was only the day everyone else figured it out. It wasn't the day I did. I had known before that, in a way. A few months earlier, back when Mandy and I were still together, Lucas had climbed through my window after dinner with a bag of sour candy and a math worksheet he had absolutely no intention of finishing. Mandy had texted me 3 heart emojis in a row, which, at 16, felt like a legally binding declaration of love. I remembered grinning at my phone like an idiot while Lucas sat on my floor, sorting the candy by color like a tiny judge. I glanced at him. Do you ever like anyone? Lucas didn't look up. Rude. I mean like. He threw a green candy at my knee. You sound 12. You're avoiding the question. For a second, Lucas got quiet. Not scared quiet, just careful. Then he shrugged, eyes still on the candy. I don't really like girls. I waited for some big reaction to happen inside me. Something dramatic. Something weird. Nothing did. Lucas was still Lucas. still sitting on my floor, still stealing the red candies because he knew they were my favorite and enjoyed being evil. I only blinked. Okay. Lucas finally looked up. Okay. I shrugged. Yeah. You're still helping me fail math, right? His mouth twitched. Obviously. Then okay. And that was it. I didn't think of Lucas as a confession or a problem or some huge thing I had to understand right away. He was my best friend. He lived one open window away. He didn't like girls. That didn't make him different to me. It just made one more thing about him true. Beside me, Lucas bumped my shoulder lightly. You're doing the thing. I blinked. What thing? Lucas narrowed his eyes, studying me like I was a suspicious vending machine. The 1,000-yard stare. Either you're thinking about Mandy again, or you forgot your history homework. My chest tightened. There it was. Mandy. Just her name could still step on something bruised. I forced a shrug. Neither. Lucas didn't buy it. Of course he didn't. Lucas never bought anything I tried to sell emotionally. The guy had known me since we were 8 and I got stuck in a tree trying to rescue a cat that absolutely did not need rescuing. Lucas looked ahead, voice lower but not soft enough to be pity. Good. She doesn't get free rent in your head. I stared at him. Lucas kept walking, like he hadn't just reached into my rib cage and adjusted something that had been sitting wrong all morning. Come on. Lucas lifted his hand and flicked my backpack strap. We're late. I followed, because that was another thing I always did. I followed Lucas through crowded hallways, past whispers, past old wounds, past every stupid rule I'd made to keep myself safe. And for one dangerous second, I wondered if maybe I wasn't scared of love. Maybe I was scared of how safe Lucas made it feel. Maybe the problem was Lucas had started feeling like the only place I didn't have to keep my guard up. By lunch, I had successfully thought about Mandy only 4 times. 5 if the moment in history counted when Mrs. Keller mentioned betrayal during a lecture on the American Revolution and my brain helpfully supplied a full cinematic flashback. Very patriotic. Deeply unwanted. I was stabbing at my cafeteria pasta when Lucas dropped into the seat across from me with the grace of someone who had never once worried about looking stupid in public. A basketball rolled under the table 2 seconds later. Lucas glanced down, trapped it under one sneaker, then looked toward the freshman standing nearby with wide, terrified eyes. The freshman swallowed. Sorry. Lucas nudged the ball back with his foot. You're good. Try not to assassinate anyone with school property. The kid laughed too fast and ran off. I pointed my fork at Lucas. You know people are scared of you, right? Lucas stole a fry from my tray. Good. Saves time. You're like 5'10". Lucas chewed, unimpressed. And spiritually 6'4". I snorted despite myself. You are the only person I know who can threaten someone with posture. Lucas leaned back, mouth twitching. It's a gift. It was annoyingly. Lucas didn't have to do much. He just existed like he had already won the argument. Blonde hair falling over his forehead, elbows on the table, one knee bouncing under the bench like his body was always half ready for motion. People noticed him. I noticed people noticing him. That was normal. Probably. Best friends notice stuff. Like when someone had spinach in their teeth. Or when someone had a jawline that made half the swim team forget how lockers worked. Not that I cared. Obviously. Across the cafeteria, one of the guys from the baseball team glanced our way, muttered something to his friends, and smirked. Lucas didn't even turn around. His eyes stayed on my tray. If you're not eating that roll, I'm emotionally available. I slid it away. Get your own carbs. Lucas's hand froze halfway across the table. His gaze flicked up, sharp now. What did they say? I stiffened. Who? Lucas tilted his head slightly, listening without looking. Baseball table. You did that thing with your shoulders. I don't have a shoulder thing. You absolutely have a shoulder thing. Very Victorian orphan. Extremely tragic. Forced a laugh, but it came out thin. Lucas looked over then. The baseball table got quiet. Not dramatic quiet. Just enough. The kind of quiet that happened when prey realized the documentary camera had been replaced by a wolf. One of the guys suddenly found his sandwich fascinating. Lucas turned back, expression smooth again. Anyway, roll. I stared at him. You didn't even hear anything. Lucas shrugged, but his jaw had gone tight. Didn't need to. That was Lucas. Loud when he wanted to be. Quiet when it mattered more. Freshman year, I watched Lucas stand in front of a senior twice his size because the guy had shoved a theater kid into the water fountain. Sophomore year, the locker room thing happened, and after that Lucas became less of a person at school and more of a local legend with a GPA. But sitting across from me now, stealing fries and pretending not to care, Lucas looked weirdly normal. Maybe that was what messed with me the most. Lucas could make bullies go silent with one glance, then spend 10 minutes arguing that strawberry milk was better than chocolate like society depended on it. I pushed the roll toward him. Lucas's eyebrows lifted. A peace offering? Shut up before I change my mind. Lucas grinned and took it. There it was again. That stupid, easy smile. The one that made my chest feel less like a locked room. I looked down fast, stabbing another piece of pasta. No dating until college. The rule still stood. It just didn't mention whatever this was. After school, Lucas walked me home like it was part of his legal responsibilities. Our houses sat side by side on one of those older streets where nobody had cared much about personal space when they built the place. Lucas's bedroom window didn't face mine perfectly, but it was close enough, angled across the narrow porch roof that ran along the side of my house. His house sat a little higher on the slope, mine a little lower, which meant the roof outside my window lined up almost exactly with his sill. It wasn't exactly safe, but it wasn't a death trap either. Low, flat, and familiar enough that our parents had spent years yelling the same rule at us. Daylight only, shoes on, and no being idiots. Naturally, Lucas treated that rule as more of a suggestion. The kind of close where one of us could climb out, take 2 careful steps along the porch roof, and end up at the other person's window. Once, I was halfway through my homework when I heard a soft knock against the glass. I didn't even have to guess. Only Lucas would treat a second-story window like office hours for pre-calc. After that, Lucas upgraded from knocking on my window to showing up with snacks, dropping onto my floor, and treating my room like a campsite. He always claimed it was for homework. He was almost always lying. I kicked a pebble down the sidewalk. You know I can walk by myself. Lucas adjusted the strap of his gym bag, eyes forward. Can you? I'm 17. You once tripped over a painted line in the parking lot. It was raining. It was sunny. The pavement had bad vibes. Lucas's laugh came out quick, bright, unfairly warm. I hated how it settled in my chest like something familiar taking off its shoes. At home, I barely made it through the front door before Lucas followed me in. Our parents had stopped pretending to be surprised years ago. At this point, Lucas walking into the Hayes kitchen after school was less guest behavior and more unpaid family subscription. My mom didn't even look up from the kitchen counter. Hi, Lucas. Lucas lifted one hand. Hi, Mrs. Hayes. I stopped. You don't live here. Lucas opened the fridge. Emotionally, I do. My mom slid a plate of leftover cookies toward him without hesitation. Take those before Martin eats them all. I gave her a wounded look. Wow, my own mom. That hurts. Lucas took 2 cookies and gave one to me without looking. Healing begins with acceptance. That was the problem. Lucas fit too easily. At school, at my kitchen table, in my room, on the porch swing that squeaked every time we sat too close. Lucas had been around so long that I sometimes forgot which parts of my life were actually mine and which parts had always included him. We did homework in my room that afternoon, which mostly meant I attempted pre-calc while Lucas lay upside down on my bed, tossing a stress ball at the ceiling. Thump, catch, thump, catch. I rubbed my eyes. If you hit the light, I'm telling everyone you cried during that dog movie. Lucas froze with the ball in one hand. That dog was loyal. It was a cartoon. Cartoon loyalty counts. I looked over. Lucas was upside down, hoodie riding slightly toward his ribs, hair falling back from his forehead, face flushed from practice and laughing at his own stupid argument. My pencil stopped moving. Not for a reason, just because. Lucas glanced at me, one eyebrow lifting. What? I looked back at my notebook too fast. Nothing. Your face is weird upside down. Lucas rolled off the bed and landed on the carpet with a dramatic groan. Jealousy is ugly on you. Good thing I'm charming. Lucas paused at that. Only a second. Barely even a second. But I saw it. His mouth softened before he turned away, suddenly very interested in the scattered papers on the floor. Debatable. My stomach did something deeply unhelpful. I grabbed my pencil tighter. Rude. Lucas sat beside me at the desk, close enough that our shoulders touched. Not fully, just the edge of his sleeve brushing my arm. It had happened 1,000 times. On buses, at movies, in lunch lines, during thunderstorms when we were kids and Lucas pretended he wasn't scared. This time I noticed. My pencil slowed over the page. The numbers in front of me blurred into useless little symbols. Lucas's sleeve brushed my arm again, and I should have shifted away. I didn't. Instead, I pressed the pencil too hard and snapped the tip clean off. The room got too quiet. Lucas reached over, tapped my notebook with 2 fingers. That answer is wrong. I blinked down. How do you know? Lucas gave me a sideways look. Because you wrote, help me, in the margin. I stared. Sure enough, beside problem 7, help me. I groaned and dropped my forehead onto the desk. I'm going to fail and become a cautionary tale. Lucas's shoulder pressed lightly against mine. Nah, I'll keep you alive. The words were casual. Too casual. Like Lucas didn't understand how easily they landed. Like my brain wouldn't pick them up later and turn them over in the dark. I lifted my head, pretending my ears weren't warm. That's a lot of confidence. Lucas smiled without looking at me. I've been doing it for years. I had no comeback. That was worse than losing an argument. That was Lucas saying something true and making it sound like a joke. While I sat there realizing I had been safe for so long I'd mistaken it for ordinary. I should have known the universe was getting too comfortable. Anytime my life went quiet for more than 3 days, something stupid usually kicked the door open wearing emotional damage and lip gloss. That something was Mandy. She stood by my locker after last period, fingers wrapped around the strap of her backpack, blonde hair tucked behind one ear like she was trying to look harmless. I stopped so fast someone bumped into me from behind. My stomach dropped. Not because I still loved her. That would have been humiliating. It dropped because some memories didn't knock. They just walked in and sat down. Mandy's eyes flicked over my face. Can we talk? My hand tightened around my history book. About what? Her mouth pressed together. For a second, she looked less sure of herself. Nervous. Almost guilty. Almost. About last year. There it was. The field house. The security light. The chocolate milk sweating in my hand. Her fingers in someone else's jacket. My chest went tight enough to annoy me. I hated that my body remembered before my brain agreed to. Mandy shifted closer, voice lower. I know I hurt you. I let out one short laugh. It didn't sound like me. That's one way to describe it. She flinched, and a mean little part of me was glad. Then I felt bad for being glad. Then I hated that too. Mandy looked down at her shoes. I didn't plan for it to happen. I got caught up in how I felt in the moment, and I made a stupid choice. I stared at her. A stupid choice. Like forgetting homework. Like sending a text to the wrong group chat. Not like looking someone in the eye for months while quietly breaking their trust behind their back. My throat felt rough. So that's what this is? It just happened. Mandy's eyes lifted. Shiny but controlled. No, I'm not saying that. I just mean I wasn't thinking clearly then. I let one stupid feeling make a decision for me. Almost smiled. Not because it was funny. Because if I didn't, my face might do something worse. Before I could answer, a familiar presence stopped beside me. Lucas didn't say anything at first. He just stood there with his gym bag over one shoulder, hair damp from practice, gaze moving from Mandy to me like he was reading the room by pulse rate. I hated how relieved I felt. Mandy's posture changed. Not much. Enough. Hi, Lucas. Her smile was careful. I was hoping to talk to Martin alone. Lucas looked at me. Not at Mandy. Not at the hallway. Just me. His expression stayed neutral, but his eyes softened in that quiet way that always made me feel embarrassingly known. You want me to go? I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. The hallway noise blurred around us. Sneakers squeaking. Lockers slamming. Someone laughing too loudly near the exit. Lucas understood anyway. He shifted half a step closer. Not in front of me, not blocking me. Just there. Solid. Warm at my side. Mandy's jaw tightened. This really doesn't involve you. Lucas's gaze finally moved to her. Calm. Too calm. It did when he stopped sleeping for weeks. My face went hot. Mandy blinked. Lucas's fingers flexed once on the strap of his bag. It did when he started acting like caring about someone was a mistake he needed to apologize for. I looked at him then. Really looked. Lucas remembered. Of course Lucas remembered. The nights I stared at my ceiling. The days I barely ate lunch. The ugly, embarrassing months when every notification made my chest jump because some dumb part of me still wanted Mandy to explain it in a way that hurt less. I swallowed hard. Lucas. Lucas glanced back, and the edge in his face softened immediately. Not pity. Never pity. Just recognition. Mandy hugged her books tighter. I'm sorry, Martin. I didn't come here to make excuses. I turned back to her. For the first time, the ache in my chest didn't feel like it owned me. I believe you're sorry. My fingers loosened around the book. But I don't think I need to make you feel better about it. Mandy's eyes dropped. Lucas went very still beside me. I breathed in. It didn't fix everything. It didn't erase last year. Didn't make me suddenly brave or healed or whatever people wrote in inspirational captions. But it felt like closing a door that had been left cracked open too long. Mandy nodded once, small and stiff, then stepped away. I watched her disappear into the crowd. For a moment, neither of us moved. Lucas bumped his shoulder lightly against mine. That was kind of badass. I huffed, shaky but real. Don't sound so surprised. Lucas's smile tilted at the corner. I'm always surprised when you develop a spine before dinner. I shoved him. Lucas laughed. And somehow, with Mandy gone and Lucas still beside me, the hallway felt easier to breathe in. By Friday, I had decided I was healed. Not actually healed, obviously, but healed enough to stop flinching every time Mandy's name drifted through the hallway like emotional pollen. Progress. Lucas and I were heading toward the parking lot after school. The usual crowd spilling out around us, loud and restless and desperate for the weekend. Lucas had practice later, so his gym bag kept smacking my leg every 3 steps. I shoved it away. Your bag is attacking me. Lucas glanced down, completely unbothered. It has good instincts. Your bag hates me? My bag recognizes weakness. I opened my mouth to respond, but a voice cut across the hallway. Yo, Hayes. I stopped. 3 guys stood near the vending machines. Baseball jackets. Too much confidence. The kind of faces that looked like they had never faced a consequence they couldn't laugh off. One of them, Tyler Reed, grinned like he'd been waiting all day to be annoying. Rough week, man. Tyler tilted his head, fake sympathy dripping off every word. Mandy coming back must have been awkward. My stomach tightened. Lucas slowed beside me. I kept walking. Not interested, Tyler. Tyler stepped slightly into our path, loud enough for the people near the vending machines to hear. Come on. I'm just saying. Takes guts to talk to the girl who cheated on you. The second guy snorted. Or no pride. Tyler's grin sharpened. What did she say? Sorry, I made you look stupid for an entire year. The words hit harder than I wanted them to. My fingers tightened around my backpack strap. For 1 second, I was 16 again. Chocolate milk in my hand. Security light buzzing overhead. Mandy looking at someone else like I had never mattered at all. Something cold moved through my chest. I could feel people looking. Not everyone, but enough. Enough for the hallway to shrink. Lucas's expression didn't change, but I noticed the way his shoulders settled. Loose. Ready. Bad sign. I touched Lucas's sleeve with 2 fingers. Barely there. Not yet. Lucas's eyes flicked to me. Tyler noticed. Of course he did. His grin sharpened. Tyler always got braver when he had an audience. Oh, my bad. Tyler looked between us. Did I interrupt a moment? The third guy laughed under his breath. My face heated. Lucas turned fully now. You want something? Tyler lifted both hands, all fake innocence. Relax. I'm just surprised Martin moved on so fast. I frowned. What is that supposed to mean? Tyler's eyes slid to Lucas. There it was. The second before impact. Nothing. Tyler shrugged. Just saying, hanging around Lucas this much? Careful, man. Might catch something. The hallway noise thinned. I went still. Not because the insult shocked me. It was lazy. Stupid. The kind of garbage people said when their brains had been assembled without instructions. But Lucas had heard it. Lucas, who had stood beside me when Mandy reopened every old bruise. Lucas, who had remembered the weeks I couldn't sleep. Lucas, who was already smiling now. That was worse. Lucas's smile was never dangerous when it was big. It was dangerous when it got small. He stepped forward, slow enough that Tyler could have moved. Tyler didn't. Lucas stopped less than a foot away from him, head tilted slightly, eyes calm in a way that made my skin prickle. I'm gay. Lucas's voice stayed even. Not contagious. Tyler's grin twitched. Lucas looked him up and down, not impressed. But being stupid might be. You should get that checked before it spreads to your whole table. Someone behind us made a choking sound that was definitely a laugh. Tyler's face darkened. You think you're tough? Lucas's eyebrows lifted. No, I think you're boring. I almost coughed. The second guy stepped forward, but not enough. Not. With Lucas looking at them like he had already picked out their detention slips and found the font ugly. Lucas adjusted the strap of his gym bag. Here's how this works. You don't talk about Martin. You don't talk about me. You don't use gay like it's an insult just because your personality never made it past a locker room. Tyler's jaw flexed. Lucas leaned in a fraction, voice dropping. And if you need a refresher on what happened last time someone tried that with me, I'm sure the swim team still remembers. Tyler looked away first. It was quick, tiny, but everyone saw it. I definitely saw it. The three of them backed off with a few muttered curses that landed nowhere. Lucas watched until they turned the corner, then faced me again like nothing had happened. Like he hadn't just turned the hallway into a trial and won without raising his voice. You okay? I stared at him. My heart was beating too hard, but not from fear. That was the annoying part. Lucas had protected me, and instead of feeling safe, I felt something sharper. Something warm and angry and aching. Because Lucas shouldn't always have to be the shield. I swallowed. I hate when they do that. Lucas's mouth softened. I know. No, my fingers curled around my backpack strap. I hate when they do it to you. Lucas blinked. For once, no comeback arrived. The crowd started moving again around us, but Lucas stayed still, looking at me like he just heard something he didn't know he was allowed to want. I looked away first. Coward. Lucas bumped my shoulder, lighter than usual. Come on, hero. Your mom probably made cookies. I managed a laugh. You're only friends with me for baked goods. Lucas's smile returned, quiet this time. Not only. My chest did the stupid thing again. And this time I couldn't blame Mandy, Tyler, or the hallway. This one was all Lucas. That night, I lay in bed and failed at being normal. Which was rude, because being normal had been my main personality plan for years. My phone rested on my chest, screen dark. Across the room, my pre-calc worksheet sat untouched on my desk, probably judging me. I had opened it twice. Both times, my brain replayed Lucas in the hallway instead. Lucas stepping forward. Lucas smiling like a knife. Lucas going quiet when I said, I hate when they do it to you. That part kept coming back. Not Tyler's stupid face. Not the word. Not even the way people had stared. Just Lucas blinking like I had handed him something fragile. I unlocked my phone. Stared. Locked it again. Unlocked it. Pathetic. Historic levels of pathetic. A museum should study me. Finally, I texted. Me, you good? The typing bubble appeared almost immediately, disappeared, appeared again. Lucas. That's my line. I rolled onto my side, thumb hovering. Me, I asked first. 3 dots. Lucas. I'm good. I stared at the words. Nope, absolutely not. I knew that answer. I had used that answer. I'm good, was what people said when they wanted to staple a smile over something ugly and hope nobody checked underneath. Me, you say that badly. A pause. Long enough for me to regret existing. Then, Lucas. Open your window. I sat up so fast my blanket tried to murder me. My bedroom window faced Lucas's at a slight angle across the narrow porch roof outside my room. Close enough to pass snacks back and forth if one of us leaned out far enough. Close enough for years of bad ideas. Far enough that I suddenly felt stupid for caring what my hair looked like. I shoved the window open. Lucas was already there. His window was up, one arm resting on the sill, hoodie sleeves pushed to his elbows. His room glowed behind him in messy yellow light. A poster had half peeled off his wall again. His blonde hair was damp, sticking up like he had towel-dried it with violence. My chest loosened before I gave it permission. Lucas lifted his phone and waved it once. Customer service is now available. I leaned against the frame. Your service is terrible. Lucas's mouth twitched. You still called. I texted. Emotionally, same thing. I rolled my eyes, but it came out too fond to be convincing. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The neighborhood was quiet in that suburban way that made every small sound feel bigger. A car door closing down the street. A dog barking once. Lucas's fingers tapping lightly against the window frame. I looked at those fingers, then away. Big mistake. Looking away made me notice Lucas's face instead. Worse. Lucas tilted his head. You've been weird since school. I huffed. I'm always weird. More haunted than usual. Maybe I'm developing character depth. Lucas studied me, all jokes fading from his eyes. Tyler got to you? No, I picked at a splinter in the wooden sill. Not like that. Lucas waited. That was one of his most annoying talents. He could wait in a way that made silence feel like a question mark. I swallowed. I just hate that you always have to do that. Lucas's brows pulled together. Do what? Be fine. The words came out sharper than planned. I winced, then pushed on anyway. Act like it doesn't bother you. Make some comeback. Look scary enough that everyone backs off. Like you're not allowed to be tired. Lucas went still. My heart kicked once, hard. Too much. Too honest. Abort mission. Fake my own death. Move to Oregon. Become a guy who owns goats. Lucas looked down at the narrow porch roof below my window. His thumb rubbed slowly over the chipped paint on his window frame. I'm used to it. I hated that answer even more than, I'm good. My voice dropped. That doesn't make it okay. Lucas glanced up. Something shifted in his expression. Not surprise exactly. More like he hadn't expected me to stay on it. Like most people accepted the armor and never asked about the bruises underneath. I tightened my grip on the sill. You know that, right? Lucas's smile came late and small. You always get this intense after 9 p.m.? Don't dodge. The smile faded. Lucas breathed out through his nose, slow. Sometimes it bothers me. My throat closed a little. Lucas looked embarrassed by the admission, which was ridiculous. Lucas could stare down half the hallway without blinking. But saying, sometimes it bothers me, made his ears turn pink. I leaned forward before thinking. Then tell me. Lucas's eyes lifted, careful now. Tell you what? My answer came too fast to be safe. When it does. My fingers curled against the sill. You don't have to be bulletproof with me. For once, Lucas had nothing clever ready. He just looked at me across the thin strip of night between our windows, softer than the hallway ever got to see. Then his mouth curved, barely. Okay. I nodded, like that single word hadn't just rearranged something behind my ribs. Okay. Lucas rested his chin on his folded arms. You're still terrible at pre-calc, by the way. I laughed, relief breaking through my chest. You ruined the moment. Lucas's eyes warmed. Saved it. You were getting dangerously sincere. I should have shut the window after that. Instead, I stayed there until my arms got cold and Lucas started pretending not to yawn. And when I finally crawled back into bed, the room felt different. Not fixed. Not simple. Just less empty. Lucas did not climb over that night. I told myself that was normal. It was late. People slept. People respected property lines. People definitely did not break the daylight-only roof rule just because their best friend got emotionally intense through a window and then spent the next day acting like nothing had happened. Except Lucas had done exactly that since we were 12. So when I heard the soft tap against my window at 10:47 p.m., my heart did something humiliating. I opened it. Lucas crouched on the narrow porch roof outside my window, hoodie pulled over his head. One hand braced against the window frame like this was a perfectly reasonable place to be. The porch roof outside my window was low and flat enough that our parents had stopped panicking every time we looked at it. Though my mom still called it that lawsuit waiting to happen whenever Lucas got too creative. I stared. Are you insane? Lucas looked offended. You left your window unlocked. That's basically an invitation. It's basically a safety hazard. Lucas swung one leg through, then paused halfway, eyes narrowing. You want me in or out? I should have picked out. My brain even held up a helpful little sign that said, boundaries, normal friendship. Window crimes were bad. My mouth betrayed me. In. Lucas slipped inside and landed softly on the carpet. He smelled like laundry soap and cold night air. I noticed that, then immediately wanted to report myself to someone. Lucas glanced around the room. Wow, still tragic. I shut the window. You broke into my room to insult my interior design. Lucas moved toward the bed and dropped onto the edge like he belonged there. Which was the problem. Lucas belonged everywhere in my life too easily. Your poster is crooked. So is your moral compass. Lucas grinned, but it faded when I didn't sit right away. A beat passed. Lucas patted the space beside him. Not pushy, just familiar. Come here before you start thinking so loud the neighbors call the cops. I sat, not too close. Then Lucas leaned back on his hands, shoulder brushing mine anyway. Of course, the contact was small. Hoodie against t-shirt, warmth through fabric. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that should have made my pulse trip over itself like an idiot in gym class. Lucas looked at the floor. About yesterday. My fingers tightened around the edge of my blanket. Yeah. Lucas exhaled, eyes fixed on his sneakers. I wasn't lying when I said I'm used to it. My chest sank. Lucas's jaw shifted, like the words were annoying him on their way out. People making jokes. Watching what bathroom I walk near. Acting like I'm waiting to hit on every guy within a 10-foot radius. It's stupid, but it's not new. I stayed quiet. For once, I did not ruin the moment with nervous sarcasm. Personal growth. Terrifying. Lucas rubbed his thumb over a loose thread on his sleeve. Most of the time I can handle it. Sometimes I even like when they're scared of me. I glanced over. Lucas's mouth curved without humor. Makes the day faster. That sounds exhausting. Lucas gave a small shrug, but his shoulders didn't rise all the way. Yeah. One word again. I hated how much could fit inside it. I turned slightly. You don't have to do that here. Lucas finally looked at me. I swallowed, suddenly aware of the inches between us. In my room, I mean. Or with me. You can be tired. Or mad. Or not funny. Lucas's eyebrow lifted faintly. Not funny. Temporarily. That's generous. My smile barely made it out. I'm a hero. Lucas watched me for a long second, and the room got quiet in a way that felt too awake. Then Lucas leaned sideways. Not fully. Not into a hug exactly. Just enough for his shoulder to rest against mine. I froze. Lucas stared at the floor, face carefully blank. This okay? My throat went dry. I nodded, then realized Lucas wasn't looking. Yeah. Lucas relaxed a fraction. It was nothing. A shoulder against a shoulder. Two best friends sitting on a bed after a bad week. Safe. Normal. technically normal. Except I could feel the weight of Lucas choosing not to be bulletproof. And somehow that felt bigger than any confession. After a minute, Lucas's voice came quieter. I don't want to scare you. I frowned. You don't. Lucas's eyes stayed down. Not like Tyler. I mean, me. The words landed strangely. I turned my head. Lucas was close enough now that I could see the tiny crease between his brows, the guarded line of his mouth, the way he looked like he regretted speaking but refused to take it back. My chest tightened. Lucas. Lucas gave me a quick, crooked smile. Defensive. Too practiced. Forget it. That came out weird. I didn't know what to say, so I did the only thing that felt true. I leaned back. Just a little. Enough that our shoulders pressed more firmly together. Lucas went still. I stared at my own hands, ears burning. You don't scare me. The room held its breath. Lucas's smile this time was barely there, but real. Okay. I nodded. Okay. Outside, somewhere down the block, a dog barked once and ruined the cinematic tension. Lucas huffed a laugh. I laughed too, relieved and terrified and warm all at once. And neither of us moved away. Monday arrived with the quiet cruelty of a pop quiz. I spent most of first period pretending to take notes while my brain replayed Saturday night like a security camera with no mercy. Lucas's shoulder against mine. Lucas whispering, I don't want to scare you. Me pressing closer like an idiot with no survival instincts. Normal best friend behavior. Completely normal. By lunch, I had convinced myself the whole thing was fine. Then Lucas walked into the cafeteria laughing at something one of the swim team guys had said, and my stomach immediately filed a complaint. The guy was Evan Parker. Senior. Tall. Good hair. Annoyingly symmetrical face. He bumped Lucas's arm with his elbow, and Lucas grinned at him. I looked down at my tray, my chicken sandwich. Looked back, dry and judgmental. Absolutely not. I was not jealous. Jealousy required interest. Ownership. Feelings. I had none of those. I had concern. Maybe indigestion. Possibly a vitamin deficiency. Lucas slid into the seat beside me instead of across from me, knee knocking mine under the table. My brain went blank. Lucas glanced over, amused. You look like you just got bad news from a fortune cookie. I stabbed a fry. Your face is bad news. Lucas's smile lingered. Weak comeback. I'm worried about you. Evan dropped into the seat across from us with a sports drink and too much confidence. Lucas, coach wants you after school. Something about relay order. Lucas nodded, reaching for my unopened milk like it belonged to him. Tell coach I'm emotionally unavailable but physically present. Evan laughed. That sounds like you. I watched Lucas's fingers around the milk carton. Ridiculous thing to notice. Illegal, probably. Evan leaned forward, voice lower but still casual. You still coming to the team thing Friday? Lucas flicked a glance toward me before answering. Maybe. That glance bothered me more than the maybe. After lunch, I escaped to the library under the noble excuse of printing an English worksheet. The printer, naturally, was broken, because technology enjoyed watching teenagers suffer. I cut through the athletic hallway on the way back, passing the equipment room just as voices drifted through the cracked door. Evan's voice first. You ever gonna tell him? I stopped. Lucas let out a short laugh. Not his real one. The smaller kind. Defensive. Absolutely not. Evan sighed. Dude. Don't dude me. A locker creaked inside. He's straight. My pulse stumbled. Lucas continued, quieter now. And he's my best friend. That's two excellent reasons not to blow up his life. My hand tightened around the useless worksheet. Evan's voice softened. You've liked him for a while. Silence. Then Lucas, barely loud enough to hear. Yeah. One word. One stupid little word. And I forgot how to move. My chest went strange. Not disgusted. Not angry. Not even surprised the way I should have been. Just strange. Like some part of me had already known and had been. Sitting quietly in the back of my mind, waiting for me to stop lying to myself. Inside the room, Lucas shifted. He trusts me. I'm not turning that into pressure. I backed away. Too fast. My shoulder clipped the wall. A dull thud echoed down the hall. The voices inside stopped. I panicked with the elegance of a dying bird and practically speed-walked around the corner. By the time Lucas caught up near the stairwell, I was pretending to read a flyer about Recycling Club with the intensity of a federal investigation. Lucas slowed a few feet away. His face changed the second he saw my expression. Not guilty. Not scared. Worse. Careful. Martin. I looked at the flyer harder. Did you know they meet on Thursdays? Lucas didn't move. How much did you hear? My mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. A truly inspiring performance by America's least prepared teenager. Finally, I managed, enough. Lucas's jaw tightened for half a second before he nodded, like he had been expecting this disaster one day and hated that it chose Monday. Okay, that was all. Okay, no joke, no comeback, no easy smile. I wished Lucas would say something stupid, anything stupid, something about Recycling Club being a cult, something normal. But Lucas only looked at me with that same careful softness from Saturday night, like I was something breakable. And I hated the worst part most. I didn't want to run because Lucas liked me. I wanted to run because some terrifying, honest piece of me didn't know what to do with the fact that maybe I liked being liked by Lucas. I had never wanted a fire drill more in my life. An alarm. A small earthquake. A raccoon loose in the stairwell. Lucas stood a few feet away, hands tucked into his hoodie pocket, face calm in that careful way that made me feel worse. Not mad. Not demanding. Just waiting. I hated waiting. Waiting gave my brain room to sprint directly into traffic. I didn't mean to hear that. Lucas nodded once. I know. I wasn't spying. I know. My voice caught, and I looked at the Recycling Club flyer again like it might contain instructions for surviving emotional collapse. I was walking by. Lucas's mouth moved like he almost smiled, then thought better of it. That is usually what hallways are for. I let out one miserable laugh. It sounded broken at the edges. Then silence came back. Lucas looked down first. That was new. Lucas never looked down first. You don't have to say anything. My stomach twisted. I feel like I should. You don't. But I heard. Lucas's fingers flexed inside his pocket. Yeah. And I'm sorry you heard it like that. That made me look at him. Lucas's face was steady, but his ears had gone pink. Embarrassed. Not ashamed, exactly. Just exposed. My chest hurt in a way I did not have a category for. Lucas glanced toward the stairwell, then back. I wasn't planning to tell you. The words landed heavier than I expected. Oh. Lucas swallowed, jaw tightening for half a second. Not because I was hiding something gross. I just didn't want to make being around me weird for you. I flinched. I don't think you're gross. Lucas's eyes softened immediately. I know. No, I mean... I pushed a hand through my hair, frustrated with my own mouth. I really don't. I believe you. That should have helped. Didn't. Because Lucas sounded like he had already decided to make this easy for me, even if it hurt him. I stared at the floor. I'm straight. The sentence came out too fast. Too sharp. Like a door slamming before anyone had actually tried to walk through it. Lucas went still. I instantly wanted to swallow the words whole. Not because they were untrue. Maybe they were true. Probably. They had always been true before. Mandy had been real. My crushes on girls had been real. My plan had been real. But Lucas's face changed. Only a little. Enough. Lucas nodded slowly. I know. There it was again. The worst possible kindness. My throat tightened. I didn't mean it like... Lucas lifted one hand, gentle, stopping me before the apology turned into panic. Martin, we're good. It doesn't feel okay. A small, sad smile touched Lucas's mouth. Yeah, that part sucks. I pressed my lips together. Lucas took one careful step back. Not dramatic. Not angry. Just space. I noticed it like a bruise. I'm not mad at you. Lucas adjusted his backpack strap even though it didn't need adjusting. You don't owe me anything because I caught feelings. You're not an idiot. Lucas's eyes flicked up. Debatable. Lucas. The hallway had mostly emptied now. A teacher's voice echoed from somewhere far away. Lockers clicked shut. Normal life kept moving, which felt insulting. Lucas looked at me for a long second. Then his expression settled into something almost familiar. Almost. I'm going to give you some room. My chest tightened. I didn't ask for that. Lucas's smile bent at the edge. I know. I'm doing one responsible thing this year. Let me have it. I tried to laugh. Failed. Lucas turned toward the stairs, then paused with one hand on the rail. His eyes found mine again, softer now. Nothing has to change today. But it already had. I knew it. Lucas knew it. The space between us knew it. I stood there after Lucas left, clutching a wrinkled recycling club flyer I had no memory of taking off the wall. My first thought should have been relief. Lucas had not pushed. Lucas had not made it weird. Lucas had offered me the exit, held the door open, and stepped aside. So why did I feel like something warm had just been carried out of the room? For 3 days, Lucas gave me room. Not the dramatic kind. No slammed doors. No wounded looks across the cafeteria. No tragic indie movie behavior near the lockers. Just room. Lucas still walked near me after class, but not close enough for our shoulders to brush. Still sat with me at lunch, but across the table instead of beside me. Still texted memes, but stopped sending the ones that came with, "This is you," or "Saw this and thought of you." It was almost normal, which made it horrible. By Thursday, I hated the word normal. I hated how Lucas didn't steal fries unless I pushed the tray toward him first. Hated how Lucas didn't lean over my desk during pre-calc to fix my mistakes. Hated how the window across from my room stayed closed at night, glowing yellow but unreachable. I had asked for none of this, except maybe I had. Maybe "I'm straight" had sounded like a warning sign. Maybe Lucas had done exactly what a good friend should do. That was the worst part. Lucas was being careful. I was being insane. After Mandy, I had promised myself I would never hand someone that much power again. But Lucas already had it somehow, and the worst part was he had never once used it to hurt me. After practice, I found myself near the gym for absolutely no reason that would survive cross-examination. I was not looking for Lucas. I was checking the floor, the structural integrity of the hallway, the emotional stability of the vending machine. Then the gym doors opened, and Lucas came out laughing with Evan Parker. Evan had a towel around his neck and one hand on Lucas's shoulder, squeezing lightly while saying something I couldn't hear. Lucas laughed again, head tipped down, smile quick and real. My stomach dropped, then immediately got embarrassed about dropping. No, absolutely not. I had no right to feel anything. Lucas was allowed to have other friends. Lucas was allowed to laugh. Lucas was allowed to be touched on the shoulder by tall, athletic seniors with annoyingly nice hair and probably normal emotional processing skills. I turned toward the water fountain like it had personally invited me over. The metal was cold under my fingers. Behind me, Lucas's voice softened. "Martin, great, wonderful," caught haunting the gym like a Victorian ghost with jealousy issues. I straightened too fast. "Hey!" Lucas slowed a few steps away. Evan gave us one glance, then lifted a hand and kept walking down the hall. Too polite. Suspiciously polite. Lucas watched me carefully. "You okay?" I almost laughed. That question was becoming a crime. "Yeah." Lucas's mouth twitched, but not into a smile. "You say that badly." My chest squeezed. My line. Our line. And Lucas had still given it back to me. I looked away. I was just passing by. Lucas glanced around the empty athletic hallway. "You were passing by the far end of the gym and a broken vending machine?" The vending machine looked lonely. A tiny smile appeared. There. Barely. I wanted to put it in my pocket and run. Lucas shifted his gym bag higher on his shoulder. "You don't have to check on me." I wasn't. "Okay." That okay again. Gentle. Accepting. Infuriating. My fingers curled at my sides. "Do you like Evan?" Lucas blinked. The question entered. The world looked around, and immediately embarrassed everyone. My soul left my body, filed a complaint, and refused to come back. Lucas stared at me. What? Nothing. I turned toward the exit. Forget I spoke. Lucas stepped sideways, blocking me without touching. His eyes had sharpened, but not cruelly. Martin. I wished the floor would open. It did not. Coward floor. Lucas tilted his head. Are you asking if I'm into Evan? I stared at a scuff mark near Lucas's sneaker. Maybe. Lucas's silence was unbearable. Then, softly, almost amused, why? My throat worked. Because Evan touched your shoulder. Because you laughed. Because you looked normal without me. Because I thought space would make this easier. But it just made me notice how much of my day used to be yours. What came out was worse. I don't know. Lucas's face changed. The amusement faded first. Then the caution. What stayed was something quiet and careful and almost hopeful, which was dangerous. I took a breath that didn't help. I don't know what I'm doing. Lucas didn't move closer. That's okay. It doesn't feel okay. No, Lucas's voice dropped. It usually doesn't. I looked at him then. Lucas stood under the harsh gym hallway lights, blonde hair damp from practice, cheeks still flushed, looking nothing like a threat and everything like the person I missed from 3 feet away. I swallowed. I don't think I liked seeing him touch you. Lucas's eyes widened slightly. There it was. The truth. Ugly, small, unfair. I rushed on, panic rising. And I know that's messed up. I know I don't get to feel weird about that after what I said. I know you're not. I mean, you can do whatever you want. Obviously. Lucas lifted one hand. I stopped. Lucas's expression had gone soft enough to hurt. I'm not dating Evan. My lungs remembered their job. Oh. He's helping me with relay starts. A pause. Lucas's mouth curved faintly. And he has terrible taste in music. I nodded like that was medically relevant. Good. Lucas's eyebrow rose. I winced. Not good. I mean, good to know. The smile got a little bigger. I hated my own heart for reacting like a golden retriever spotting a tennis ball. Lucas stepped aside, giving me room to leave if I wanted. I didn't leave. That felt important. Lucas noticed. That felt worse. For a moment, the hallway was quiet except for the hum of fluorescent lights and the distant thud of a basketball somewhere inside the gym. I rubbed both hands over my face. I'm so bad at this. Lucas leaned one shoulder against the wall, gaze steady. At what? I lowered my hands. My voice came out smaller than I meant. Missing you without knowing what that means. Lucas didn't joke. Didn't smile like he'd won. He just looked at me like the words had reached him somewhere deep. Then, carefully, we can figure out what it means slowly. I nodded once. Slowly sounded terrifying. Slowly also sounded like Lucas not leaving. And for now, that was enough. The next day, Lucas limped. Not dramatically. Not enough for most people to notice. Lucas had too much pride for that. He moved like the pain was a rumor he refused to confirm. I noticed immediately. Of course I did. Lucas came out of the locker room after practice with one knee wrapped, hair damp, gym bag hanging lower than usual. I pushed off the wall. You're hurt. Lucas glanced down like the knee had surprised him. Wow. Detective Hayes. Solving crimes no one reported. I stepped closer. Lucas. It's just a bad landing. Lucas waved me off, then winced because his body was honest even when his mouth wasn't. Coach benched me for 2 days. Tragic. The nation mourns. I didn't laugh. Lucas's expression softened. I'm fine. I narrowed my eyes. Lucas sighed. I say that badly. I know. That should have helped. Didn't. We made it halfway down the athletic hallway before Tyler Reed's voice slid out from near the vending machines. Ah, what happened? Lucas? Somebody finally trip over your ego. I stopped. Lucas didn't. I saw the calculation in him. Keep walking. Don't give them attention. Don't make this a thing. Tyler and 2 of his friends stepped into view anyway. One of them looked at Lucas's knee wrap and grinned. Guess the hallway hero has a limp now. Lucas's mouth went flat. My pulse kicked. Tyler tilted his head, eyes bright with borrowed courage. Not so scary today, huh? Lucas shifted his weight. Tiny mistake. Pain flashed across his face before he smothered it. Tyler saw. So did I. Something in me went very quiet. Lucas moved like he might step forward because Lucas always stepped forward. Because that was what everyone expected from him. Because somewhere along the line, the whole school had decided Lucas being tough meant Lucas could never be tired, never be hurt, never need anyone. I was done with that. I stepped in front of Lucas. Not fast. Not heroic. My heart was hammering so hard it could have powered the gym lights, but my feet stayed where I put them. Lucas went still behind me. Martin. I didn't look back. Tyler blinked, then laughed. Seriously. My hands were shaking, so I curled them into the straps of my backpack. Move. Tyler's grin widened. What, you're his bodyguard now? I felt Lucas behind me, close enough that his warmth reached through the space between us. For once, I didn't move aside. No, my voice came out steadier than I felt. I'm his friend. One of Tyler's friends snorted. That what we're calling it? The words hit the hallway and waited for me to flinch. I didn't. Maybe tomorrow I would panic about that. Maybe later my brain would explode into 13 separate identity crises. But right then, Tyler was looking at Lucas like pain made him smaller, and I couldn't stand it. I lifted my chin. You're not scared of Lucas because he's gay. Tyler's smirk twitched. You're scared because he doesn't make himself smaller for you. I took one step forward. And that makes you feel stupid. Behind me, Lucas's breath caught softly. I kept going before fear could catch up. But today he doesn't need to prove anything. He's hurt. And you're still running your mouth because that's the only time you think you can win. The hallway had quieted around us. A couple athletes lingered near the doors. Someone stopped pretending to tie their shoe. Tyler's face reddened. You don't know what you're talking about. I gave a short, humorless laugh. I know you waited until he was limping. That landed. Tyler glanced around, realizing too late that the audience had changed shape. Not laughing with him now. Watching him. Lucas's hand brushed my elbow. Not pulling me back. Just there. I lowered my voice. Walk away. For a second, Tyler looked like he might push it. Then Evan appeared at the end of the hall, sweat towel over one shoulder, eyes narrowing as he took in Lucas's knee, my stance, Tyler's face. Problem. Tyler looked from Evan to me to Lucas. His courage evaporated in public. He scoffed, muttered something useless, and shoved past his friends toward the exit. The hallway breathed again. I didn't. Not until Lucas's fingers closed gently around my sleeve. I turned. Lucas was looking at me like I had just stepped out of a version of myself neither of us had met yet. Too quiet. Too soft. My nerves came roaring back. Was that stupid? Lucas's mouth opened, then closed. His eyes dropped to my shaking hands. Carefully, he reached out and covered one with his own. Only for a second. Safe. Warm. Enough. No, Lucas's voice was rough around the edges. That was kind of amazing. My face caught fire. Lucas. A smile broke across Lucas's face. Small but real. Sorry. Emotionally amazing. Heroically amazing. Very PG. I groaned and looked at the ceiling. I regret saving you. Lucas laughed, then winced because of his knee. My worry snapped back instantly. Sit down. Lucas let me guide him to the bench by the wall, still watching me like the whole world had shifted 1 inch to the left. I crouched to check the wrap, then paused, suddenly aware of Lucas staring. What? Lucas's smile softened. Nothing. I frowned. You're doing the thing. What thing? The thing where you look like you know something I don't. Lucas leaned back against the wall, eyes warm and tired and not guarded for once. Maybe I'm just figuring it out too. My chest went still. I didn't ask what it meant. Not yet. I just sat beside Lucas on the bench, close enough for our shoulders to touch, while the hallway emptied around us. And this time I was the one who stayed. For once, I didn't try to name what that meant. I only knew standing beside Lucas felt less like a question and more like an answer I wasn't ready to say out loud. That evening, I didn't wait for Lucas to text first. This felt illegal, possibly historic. I stood in front of my open window with my hoodie strings twisted around my fingers, staring at the narrow porch roof outside my room. The daylight-only rule had expired several hours ago, so obviously this was already going great. For years, Lucas had crossed that little stretch of porch roof like it was nothing. 2 careful steps along the porch roof, one hand on the window frame, a soft knock against my glass, and suddenly he would be in my room with snacks, homework he had absolutely no intention of finishing, and the kind of grin that made bad ideas feel reasonable. I had never been the one to cross first. Until now. I climbed out slowly, one sneaker finding the porch roof, then the other. The night air hit my face, cool enough to make me question every life choice that had led me onto a roof with an unresolved emotional crisis. Great, very brave, very stupid. Across from me, Lucas's window was cracked open, a warm line of light spilling through the gap. I took 2 careful steps and knocked softly on his glass. Lucas appeared almost immediately, blonde hair messy, eyebrows lifting like he was trying very hard not to smile. "Did you just climb over here?" I gripped the window frame a little tighter. No, Lucas looked at my shoes, then at the porch roof, then back at me. "You're literally outside my window." Emotionally, no. His mouth twitched. "Martin." I exhaled, suddenly aware of my heart trying to break school records inside my chest. "Can I come in?" Something in Lucas's face softened. Not smug, not teasing, just surprised in the quietest way. He pushed the window higher and stepped back. "Yeah." I climbed inside with absolutely no grace, nearly caught my hoodie on the latch, and landed on his floor like a raccoon who had lost a fight with architecture. Lucas looked me up and down. That was painful to watch. I straightened too fast. "I'm being vulnerable. You're being a fire hazard. Support me." His smile came small and warm. "I am." Quietly. For a second, neither of us moved. Lucas's room looked almost the same as it always did from across the porch roof. Messy desk, half-peeled poster, gym bag abandoned near the closet. But, standing inside it felt different, like I had crossed more than a few feet of porch roof. Lucas leaned back against his desk, careful with his wrapped knee. "You okay?" I almost said yes. Then I remembered what I had told him at the window. "You don't have to be bulletproof with me." So I told the truth badly. No, Lucas turned toward me, careful. Not alarmed. Just there. I stared at the worn carpet between my shoes. "I don't know what I am." Lucas went still across from me. I rushed on before fear could tackle me. I thought I did. I thought I was straight. I liked Mandy. That was real. I'd liked girls before, or at least I thought I had. So I figured that was the whole answer. Lucas's hands rested loosely at his sides. He didn't interrupt. Didn't grab the moment and make it heavier than I could carry. I swallowed. "Then you happened." Lucas's mouth parted slightly. I looked down fast, face burning. That sounded smoother in my head. A small smile warmed Lucas's voice. "Did it?" "No." It sounded terrible there too. Lucas huffed a soft laugh, but his eyes stayed serious. I picked at a loose thread on my cuff. "When I said I was straight, I wasn't trying to hurt you." "I know. I think I was trying to stop everything from changing." My throat tightened. "But then you gave me room, and everything changed anyway. You were still there, just farther away. And I hated it. After Mandy, wanting someone had felt like handing them a weapon and hoping they would be nice enough not to use it. With Lucas, it felt different. Still scary, just not unsafe." Lucas's breathing shifted. I finally looked at him. Lucas's face was open in a way I had almost never seen. No comeback ready. No armor. Just Lucas, standing in his room with a wrapped knee and a guarded hope he was trying very hard not to show. My voice came out quieter. "I missed you." Lucas's eyes softened. "I was right across the roof." "Not like that." I pressed my thumb into my palm, grounding myself. "I missed you close. I missed you stealing my food and leaning over my homework and showing up at my window like a burglar with good hair." Lucas's lips twitched. Good hair. Don't focus. On the wrong part. I'm focusing very carefully. I let out a shaky breath. I don't know what label fits me. Maybe I'm still figuring that out. Maybe it'll take time. But I know I like you. Lucas didn't move. The quiet in his room stretched around us. My heart tried to escape through my hoodie. Lucas's voice was soft, almost cautious. What kind of like? I looked at him fully. It was terrifying. It was also Lucas. That made it possible. Like I get jealous when Evan touches your shoulder. My face went nuclear. Which is embarrassing and not your problem. Lucas blinked, then pressed his lips together like he was fighting a smile. Pointed at him. Do not enjoy my suffering. Lucas's eyes warmed. I'm trying not to. Try harder. Lucas nodded, but the smile stayed. My nerves settled just enough for the last truth to slip out. Like I want to be the person you don't have to act tough around. My voice dropped. Like when something hurts, I want you to tell me. Like when I think about college, I don't picture getting away from here as much as I picture calling you first. Lucas looked away. Only for a second. But I saw his throat move. When Lucas looked back, his smile was smaller. Realer. That's a lot, Martin. I nodded quickly. I know. And I'm not asking you to just trust it immediately. I know I freaked out. I know I made it weird. Lucas's shoulder shifted like he wanted to move closer. But he didn't. Not yet. You did make it weird. I groaned. I'm pouring my heart out. I'm supporting you with honesty. You're bullying me during a vulnerable moment. Lucas's smile faded into something gentler. I still like you. I stopped breathing like a normal person. Lucas held my gaze. Brave in a way that had nothing to do with lockers or bullies. I tried not to. For a long time. But I do. My chest ached not sadly. Just full. I don't know how to do this. Lucas's eyes softened. Then we don't rush. I nodded. Slow? Very slow. Painfully slow? Lucas's eyes flicked to my face for half a second. Then back up. Probably good for both of us. My face burned again. Right? Yes. Responsible. Horrible but responsible. Lucas laughed softly. The sound loosened something in me. For a second, I forgot I was standing in his room after climbing across a roof like the world's least graceful romantic lead. Then Lucas glanced toward the window. You know you have to climb back, right? I looked at the porch roof outside. Then at him. Don't ruin my emotional growth with logistics. His smile came back, small and unfairly fond. I'm just saying. Heroic exit matters. I'm not making a heroic exit. I'm making a careful exit. Probably best. I stepped back toward the window, then paused with one hand on the frame. For the first time in days, the space between us didn't feel like a warning. Felt like a beginning. By the next night, I had opened my window 4 times. Not because I was waiting. That would be desperate. I was simply monitoring air quality. On the 5th time, Lucas's window slid up across the narrow porch roof, and I nearly dropped my phone on my own foot. Lucas leaned on the sill, hoodie sleeves bunched around his wrists, blonde hair messy, smile already suspicious. You keep checking if I'm dead? I straightened too fast. No, Lucas tilted his head. So you were admiring the view? The view is your trash can and a dying fern. Jealousy again. Of the fern. It gets more sun than you. I tried to glare. Failed. Smiled instead. Lucas noticed. Of course he did. For a moment, we just looked at each other through the dark. Both windows open, both rooms glowing softly behind us. It felt like every year we had known each other had quietly walked up to this exact place and stopped. Lucas rested his chin on his folded arms. So, my stomach flipped. So, still not dating until college? I looked down at the windowsill, tracing a scratch in the paint with my thumb. That rule had once felt like armor. Clean, simple, safe. Now it felt like something a scared version of me had written before I knew Lucas could make safety feel like a person. I glanced back up. I'm considering an exception. Lucas's eyebrows lifted. That sounds serious. It is. There's paperwork. Naturally. And a review process. Lucas nodded gravely. Am I allowed to know the candidate? I fought a smile and lost. He's kind of annoying. Lucas placed a hand over his chest. Devastating. He climbs through windows illegally. Allegedly. He steals fries, insults my pre-calc, and thinks being emotionally available through a window counts as customer service. Lucas's smile softened at the edges. Sounds like a catch. My voice went quieter. Yeah, he is. The joke faded. Lucas looked at me for a long second, and I didn't look away. That felt like progress. Maybe not movie progress. No dramatic music. No rain. No running across airports. Just me keeping my eyes on Lucas when every scared part of me wanted to hide behind sarcasm. Lucas's fingers curled around the window frame. You sure about this? I breathed in. The honest answer was no. Not completely. I wasn't sure what label fit. I wasn't sure how tomorrow would feel or what people might say, or how many times my brain would panic before breakfast. I wasn't sure how to explain Lucas without making it sound smaller than it was. But I was sure about the ache when Lucas moved away. Sure about the relief when Lucas came back. Sure about wanting to be careful with him. Sure about wanting anyway. I leaned a little farther out the window. I'm sure I want to try. Lucas's face softened like the words had reached somewhere unguarded. Slow? I nodded. Very slow. Painfully slow? Ridiculously slow. Lucas smiled. Good. I looked at the gap between our windows. It wasn't big. Just a narrow stretch of porch roof and a few feet of night air. Still, my heart kicked when I reached out. Not far enough to be dramatic. Just enough. Lucas looked at my hand. Then at me. His smile turned quiet. Carefully, Lucas reached back. Our fingers met in the dark between the windows. For a second, neither of us moved. The night air slipped between our wrists. I could feel Lucas's fingers hesitate, like he was giving me one last chance to pull away. I didn't, so Lucas held on. No fireworks, no life-altering speech. Just Lucas's hand, warm and steady, holding mine like he had all the time in the world to wait for me. My chest loosened. Across from me, Lucas gave my fingers the smallest squeeze. Your hand is cold. I rolled my eyes, but my grip tightened. Romantic. I'm setting realistic expectations. You're ruining the moment. Lucas's gaze warmed. I'm in the moment. I had no comeback for that. Worse, I didn't want one. We stayed like that until Lucas's dad yelled from somewhere inside the house about lights being left on, and Lucas flinched so hard I almost laughed. Lucas looked over his shoulder, then back at me with deep offense. I am being sabotaged. I finally laughed. Go before you get grounded. Lucas didn't let go right away. That small delay did something ridiculous to my heart. Then Lucas released me slowly. His fingers slipped away one by one, careful enough that the ending of the touch felt like its own kind of promise. Tomorrow. I leaned against the sill, still feeling the shape of Lucas's fingers in mine. Yeah, tomorrow. Lucas's smile came softer this time. Good night, Martin. My throat warmed around the words. Good night, Lucas. The windows stayed open a little longer after that. I didn't climb into bed right away. I looked across the porch roof at Lucas's room, at the familiar yellow light, at the boy who had been one open window away my whole life and somehow still managed to feel brand new. My old rule still existed somewhere in my notes app. No dating until college. I decided I didn't need to delete it tonight. I could leave it there, proof that once I had been scared enough to think love was only another way to get hurt. Then I looked at the open window across from mine. Lucas was still there, smiling like he knew exactly what I was thinking and was trying very hard not to be smug about it. I smiled back. Maybe love didn't have to be a trap. Maybe sometimes it was just the light in the room next door, waiting until I was brave enough to leave my window open. And this time I did. Not just that night. The next morning, too. And the one after that. Lucas and I did not become perfect overnight. I still panicked sometimes. He still made terrible jokes whenever things got too sincere. But we were happy. Slowly. Honestly. For the first time since Mandy. I stopped waiting for love to hurt. Because every night, when the light came on across the porch roof and Lucas smiled at me from his window, I knew one thing for sure. I had not broken my rule. I had outgrown it.